y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name's Danielle and I'm the owner of Damn Fancy Creations and the Drunk Flamingo Glitter. If you guys are new to my channel, I do want to let you know that all of my groups and links are posted in the description below in case you want to check them out. Today's tutorial is based around Febriary's flock box colors, pattern vinyl, and decals. If you guys do not know what my flock boxes are, that is my monthly subscription, or they are also available for individual purchase mystery boxes that include 4 new glitters, 2 new pattern vinyls, and a white backed decal. They all coordinate together so you can create a tumbler right out of the box. I also include an inspirational picture, which is what you see here, so you guys can jump right in and start creating. Everything you see listed here will be covered in today's tutorial, but as always, if y'all have questions about something that I went over or a product that I use, please feel free to ask in the description or in any of my groups on Facebook. But for now, we're going to go ahead and get started on this tutorial, and I hope you guys enjoy. Alright guys, so here is Febriary's flock box. This is Honeycomb. It is a fine gold yellow opal mix. We also have Blue Butterfly, which is a mix of different blues and slates. Then we have Honeybee, which may be my favorite color out of the box. It is a very light yellow with opal. And then we have Bee's Knees, which is a light blue with some chunky and fine opal mixed in. These are the 2 vinyl sheets that were in our flock box, this fun honeycomb pattern. And then I also created a daisy and bee pattern to go with the honeycomb. And then this was the decal that was included. I also created this to match the other vinyl patterns. So this was everything that was included in this month's flock box. And now we're going to get started on our tumbler. So this is my tumbler. I went ahead and spray painted it white just to save a couple steps. I like to tape off the edges when I do glitter butts. It's just my preference. If you want to decorate all the way to the edge of the tumbler, you can definitely do that. So I'm going to show you guys how I pop the bottoms off. I just use a metal putty knife and a hammer. It's really awkward to show this on camera, but basically I just wedge the putty knife in between the bottom cap and the edge of the tumbler, hammer it down, wedge it down in there, and then when you lift that putty knife up, that lid will just pop off. And for this tumbler, I'm using a 32-ounce plump from the Steel Magnolias. All of her tumblers, you can pop off the bottom, except for maybe 2. I'm also going ahead and cleaning the rim with acetone. Since I know there's going to be vinyl up to this edge, I'm going ahead and wiping off that paint so I don't have to clean that rim after I apply the vinyl and risk removing the ink from the vinyl. Now I'm going to get my tool from Cami Page Boutique. This is her Ultimate Tumbler Guide tool. If you guys don't have this, I highly suggest it. I use it for so many things. This is technically a decal tool, but I'm just using it to make a straight line. I also use the pencil attachment for this, so you can use different tools different ways on this particular item. So I'm just making a line at the top and the bottom so that when I go to apply my vinyl, I'm sure that it's going to be straight. So I'm putting all my pieces back on so I don't lose them. And now I'm going to decide how large I want these vinyl pieces to be. And I cut my vinyl so that it was overlapping slightly. so that if I needed to, I could just go trim off the excess, but I definitely wanted to cut it long enough so that I had that coverage that I wanted. So I'm going to start by trimming off all of this white. That way we don't have any white edges. And I am going to peel up a little bit of this vinyl, trim off just one section of the backing. And I'm going to line it up with that straight line that we already drew. So it's kind of like a hinge. And once I'm sure that the vinyl is lined up on the other side, I am going to take my little squeegee. I like to use the side with the felt. And we are just going to slowly press that down as the backing is removed. And I am smoothing out any wrinkles as we go because we don't want air pockets. And once we get to the other side, I'm just going to trim off this excess, and then I am going to take a piece of painter's tape and put it right along where that vinyl meets up with the other vinyl, where it's slightly overlapping. And I'm just going to take my blade all the way down, and then we're just going to peel off that excess piece. And I'm just looking around my cup, smoothing out any wrinkles that I see. And then we're basically going to do the exact same thing with the second piece of vinyl that's going on the bottom. Make sure that you have your vinyl right side up when you're doing this. You don't want all the bees to be upside down. So again, I'm just using that little piece like a hinge, making sure everything is lined up. And then I am flipping it back over and using my squeegee to smooth out the vinyl, get out any wrinkles. Again, trimming off that excess. So now we have 2 equal sections. And now I'm going to go in with my striping tape. I couldn't decide if I wanted to use painter's tape, electrical tape, but I purchased the striping tape off of Amazon. I believe this is the same kind that Brooke uses, or if not, she uses something similar. And I'm just making my wavy lines. And last minute, I decided that I wanted each of my sheets of vinyl to also be one of the wavy lines. I thought that would look cool to have like a sheet of vinyl and then glitter and then a wavy line of vinyl and then glitter and more vinyl. But this is where you guys can kind of get creative. So I'm just kind of mapping out my sections of what sections I want glittered, what sections I want vinyl. Y'all can see I'm like really thinking about how I'm doing this. So this is really kind of y'all's preference. If you want all glitter lines, you can do that. If you want more vinyl lines, you can do that as well. here I am again trying to calculate what I'm doing. I was trying to decide what colors I actually wanted to use for the glitter stripes, if I wanted to use all 4 colors or just 2 colors or 3 colors, what I was going to do. Which ultimately I opted just to use the 2 lighter shades for the body of the tumbler, and the darker yellow, golden yellow became the honey, and then of course I used the dark blue for the bottom of the tumbler. And I did not use a template for this, obviously. For me personally, I don't use a lot of templates because I have a lot of trouble matching them up, and then I just end up wasting vinyl, or I think this is how it's supposed to look in my head and I end up not liking it. So I just decide to kind of create as I go. But obviously, if y'all feel like you need a template to get this look, I'm sure there are some out there. So to apply my glitter, I am going to be using Artistry's ColorFix paints. And I decided not to cut out the vinyl. I know y'all have seen me before where I actually cut out the vinyl and then go back and add the glitter, but really there's no need to cut out the vinyl. We're just going to glitter right on top of it. And I am using the white on these sections first because these 2 lighter colors are definitely translucent, so the vinyl color underneath would show through. So we're just painting it white first, just to get that coverage so that the glitter color is kind of the star, and it will have the same hue and color that it looks in the cup. And you can get ColorFix paints from Artistry. If you did not know, we do have a discount code. They are linked in the description below. And their ColorFix paints are a paint primer and glitter glue built in. So as soon as I applied that second coat of white, I went in with my glitter and sprinkled it right on top. I love their glitter glue. You definitely have more work time with the straight glitter glue than you do with the ColorFix paints, but I love the ColorFix paints, how you can base coat and glitter all in one step. So now I'm going to go ahead and peel off that top line since we're done with that. I don't want it to dry and then glitter flecks peel off. And then we're going to move right into the middle line, which is going to be our yellow. And same thing as the first one, as soon as I get done applying this ColorFix paint, we are going to go in with our light yellow and sprinkle it right on there. And you can use a different color if you want to, but this tumbler was more on the pastel side, so I wanted to keep that white base so that these colors would still be pastel. If you used a blue or a yellow underneath these colors, they would definitely be more vibrant. So it just kind of depends on what look you want to go for. Then we're going to peel up that second piece of striping tape, and y'all can see that now we have one little wave that is our honeycomb vinyl. And now we're going in with our very last color. Well, it's the same color as before, but it's our last stripe. And after this dries, you can seal your glitter. I did use spray sealer, which I should not have. I never use spray sealer on vinyl because it always makes it curl, but you know, I don't even listen to my own advice sometimes. I would typically seal with something like Quick Seal from Artistry, but I just wanted to get it done quicker. So after we got everything glittered and perfect, I am going to take my edging tool, which is also from Cami Page Boutique, and I'm moving my blade up just a little bit. This tool does have the half spacer, but I wanted this rim to be a little bit thicker than what I would normally do for tumblers because I was going to do drips. So I am just going around the edge with that tool, peeling off that vinyl so we get that perfect rim. So I am going ahead and going right into my drips. Most of the time I would epoxy first, but in reality I can just do this in one step. So this is just another way to show you guys that you can do a tumbler start to finish fairly quickly and it still look really cool. So I'm going ahead and taking my decal and applying it on my tumbler where I want it. And I'm applying my decal before I do my drips, so that way I know where to place my drips. I can place them around my decal. So we are going to take Artistry's 1-to-1 fast set. And y'all can see I already have epoxy on there. This is the direct result of getting on TikTok when I'm waiting for my epoxy to cure. I mixed up some epoxy and then got on TikTok, forgot what I was doing, and I came back and it was too thick. So do not TikTok when you craft. So I had to make up another batch. This is fast set epoxy. I always apply my drips with fast set. I think it's easy, at least when I'm paying attention to what I'm doing. And I mixed up some of the honeycomb glitter that was in the flock box. If I'm using a fast set versus regular epoxy, you are not going to let it get as thick as you would regular epoxy. With fast set, it may appear a little too liquidy in the tumbler, but as soon as you take it out of the tumbler and apply it to your cup, for some reason when it hits that cooler air, it starts to thicken up fairly quickly. So after I get my rim of epoxy on here, I'm going to go back with little globs of epoxy and we're just going to apply it where the drips are naturally starting to form, just to help them fall down the cup a little further. And I will typically mix up about 15 mils, 20 mils of epoxy, but I do like thicker drips with a thicker rim. If you want your drips smaller and closer to the rim, then you might only mix up 10 mils. So I'm just kind of watching my drips right now, see if I need to add them anywhere, make sure they're not going to fall too far down the cup. And I'm just using some leftover epoxy to fill some molds. This was for my mentorship group this past month where we made a 3D bee gnome, and I was just kind of experimenting with some things. But pretty much as soon as we get those drips on our tumbler, we are going to peel off that electrical tape, so that way we get a nice, smooth, clean rim. I also will hit it with my torch, pop any bubbles. So after we are finished with that part, I am going to take this tumbler, put it on our awesome tumbler grip. If you guys have not tried the tumbler grip, it is amazing. I didn't know what I was missing out on until I got these. And a lot of times I do like to put my little twisty part inside the tumbler because I clearly cannot keep epoxy off of my PVC pipes, and I don't want to drip that epoxy on the tumbler grip itself and have it stick together. I did that a little bit, but luckily it did not stick to that material. But for future, I will always just put that little part inside the tumbler if I can. So we are now just going in with Artistry's 1-to-1 fast set. Again, we do have a discount code for Artistry. Their epoxy is the best that I've tried so far. There are very minimal bubbles. It cures pretty quickly. There is little to no odor, and their fast set can be used as a final coat. There's no odor after it cures at all, and the shine is really good. And y'all can also see that after I apply my epoxy, I go back and kind of pull that epoxy away from the drips. This will help epoxy from pooling and getting that kind of cluster of micro bubbles. I get asked a lot of how to avoid bubbles or pools of epoxy around drips, and that's basically how I do it. Y'all can see I just go back and wipe those drips several different times. And then if there are drips on the tumbler, I wipe from top to bottom. Typically, I wipe from bottom to top, but if I did that, then epoxy would pool in those drips again. And after we have our epoxy on, I'm going to grab my torch and pop all those bubbles. So I will do another layer of epoxy. I will sand out any rough spots on my tumbler, and then we are ready to pinstripe. This is my cup cradle from Cami Page Boutique. It is the best cup cradle. I swear I have so many of her tools. They are all great. I use them almost every time I do a tumbler. And I like it because it's so compact. So you guys can see here that little spot in the back of my tumbler. That is because I used a clear spray to seal my glitter instead of a liquid, which I know better, but sometimes, like I said, I don't listen to my own advice. But I knew I was going to apply the little metal 3D bees, and I thought that I could put one in the back which would cover that little spot, and it did, so it worked out perfectly. So I'm just going in with different colored pinstripes that I think go with my tumbler. And if you guys did not know, I do have a file on thedrunkflamingo.com that is a pinstriping file. I have all of my most popular sizes on there, which is 0.07, 0.05, and 0.03. Whenever I cut pinstripes, I like to cut out full sheets. That way I have a ton of pinstripes to work with, as well as different sizes, so that I can layer them and pick different colors if I need them. So I will typically have probably 10 different pinstripe colors at a time. I will always have a full sheet of white and gold and typically champagne cut out because those are my most popular colors that I use. And all of my vinyl that you see here that is not offered on my site, so any solid color I get from my local supplier, which is JSI Signs. Well, actually, they're now Perfect Press HTV. I am just so used to calling them JSI Signs. but they're in Norcross, Georgia. If you guys are in Georgia and close to that area, I do recommend going. They have great prices, great color choices. They also have a ton of HTV and transfers if y'all are into that stuff. They are about 30 minutes away from me, but I typically go every month, every other month or so, and just stock up. They also have rolls. You can also ask for them in the back. I always get a 15-foot roll of the chrome gold I use, as well as white and champagne. And I think I might pay $18 for my 15-foot of gold chrome, which is a pretty good deal. I think they're solid 12 by 12 sheets of basic colors are $1. They used to be 50 cents, I think, but I believe they went up just a little bit. But still, it's still a great price. So we're just going and outlining all of our glitter stripes, and I was loving how this cup turned out. I thought it was so cute. I've really been into using vinyl a lot more on tumblers, and I'm trying to find like cute different ways to incorporate fun designs with glitter and vinyl. And this rose gold holographic is one of my favorite colors that they have. And I would list the colors for y'all in the description, but whenever I shop in store, they don't actually have the shelf labeled with what color they are. So I'm really just kind of guessing based on what they look like. But I think that this one is rose gold holographic. At least that's what I'm calling it. And y'all can see I kind of just work in 1-inch sections. So I just kind of get my vinyl placed how I want it in about 1-inch sections, and then press it down when I think it's a good layered layout. I don't know, centered with the bottom vinyl. And I also really like this glittered champagne color. And I was debating on applying this vinyl on the inside where the yellow was, but after I got it on there, I did not like it. But that's the good thing about vinyl. You can apply it, not like it, and then rip it off. So I was looking at it and I was like, no, I don't like it. I just like the yellow glitter. And yeah, I think I did 2 more, one underneath the last vinyl stripe and then one more above the top vinyl stripe. So it kind of was like an extra little wave of vinyl. So I was pretty happy with these lines. I was just making sure that everything was lined up correctly. And now what I'm going to do is take some UV resin, and I like to go over the ends of my pinstripes with UV resin, and that will help them from lifting under epoxy. So I'm just using my little silicone brush, and I'm just putting a little bit. You don't need a whole lot. We just need enough to hold those pinstripes down. So I went ahead and cured that. I'm just adding a couple more. So I will go ahead and cure this as well. And then I was just taking my little metal bees, and I just wanted to see if it would cover up that oopsie that I made, and kind of planning out placements. So I applied 2 more layers of Artistry's Fast Set, and now we are ready to apply our metal bees. I went ahead and applied some liquid fusion to these little bees. They're kind of hollow on the inside. And I let that liquid fusion sit for about 15-20 minutes so it gets tacky. And then I press them onto my tumbler, and they stay perfectly. Since I let that adhesive sit and get kind of tacky, they are not going to slide off the tumbler. And this little bee just covered up my mistake perfectly. And then I am going to take a metal bee that does not have glue in it, and I was just kind of holding it up to the tumbler, kind of debating like where I wanted them, where they would fit nicely, flush with the tumbler. And then I would take a bee that did have adhesive in it and just attach it right where I wanted it. And if any adhesive kind of squirted out from the little bee body, I would just take my silicone tool and kind of wipe off that excess adhesive. And I also had alcohol and a Q-tip handy, and I just went right around the little bee body and just cleaned it up. So after you're done with your bees, we are going to work on our glitter booty. So I am going to use Artistry's Fast Set this time. I have used UV resin, I've used regular epoxy, and it really depends on how you're going to decorate your bottom. If you want to use translucent glitter, you can use UV resin in thin layers because the glitter will be transparent, so the UV light can penetrate those layers and cure the resin properly. But today we are using Sunny Dispersion Color, also mixed with that yellow. I just wanted to brighten it up a bit since I did not paint the bottom of my tumbler. Typically I do paint it white, but today I just decided to go in with the metal base. But that's why I used Dispersion Color to make this glitter a little bit more opaque so that we couldn't see that stainless through the glitter mixture. I am also going in with Blue Butterfly. We are just going to mix that up. And we're just going to apply a thin layer in the center cavity. I do thin layers for this step because I do apply my logo tag, which I get from Mizzy's Doodles. And I don't want that tag to sink and be covered by the epoxy. I am also going in and adding a little bumblebee, and I did not want him to sink either. So I'm just popping the few bubbles that are in there with my heat gun. Typically I would use my torch, but it wasn't upstairs. And I'm just taking that bee and we're applying him towards the top, and then my logo tag is going directly beneath him. And we are just going to get those centered as best we can. And once this has cured, we are going in with clear epoxy and covering the bottom completely. I always like to do a layer of clear, that way the bottom of the cup and the sides of the tumbler are slick, shiny, smooth. It's not something that is a necessity, it's just what I like to do. Then we're going to pop those bubbles. Again, I'm just going to use my heat gun because I don't have my torch upstairs. But once this layer cures, your tumbler will be complete. And I will show you guys some finished pictures. I really love how this cup turned out. I think it's really cute. Definitely spring vibes. And I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If y'all try something with this pattern vinyl, please post in the Drunk Flamingo because I love to see what you guys come up with. If y'all enjoyed this tutorial or learned something new, please be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Don't forget to catch the next video coming up that was picked just for you. As always, if you're looking for more tips, tricks, or tutorials, be sure to check out my tutorial group or my Damn Fancy tribe. Both are linked in the description. Thanks for watching!